After returning home from what should have been a regular work trip, a man began to call his friends in a panic, fearing for his life. 1 week later, police found him deceased. Was this an untimely medical tragedy or an attack of the paranormal? Today, we're discussing the mysterious death of Christopher Case. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force, to another episode of Red Web, the podcast all about unsolved mysteries, true crime, and the paranormal. I'm your resident mystery enthusiast, begging for ghosts to be real, Trevor Collins, and joining me hearing this case for the very first time, Alfredo Diaz.
Talk about a hook. I feel like you know what I mean? That's a movie hook that we just read off of IMDb.
Yeah.
Because I've got questions I want to know. And of course, if this was a movie in modern times, the trailer would give everything away from front to back.
Of course.
That's neither here or there. This is interesting. Someone crying for help, and you never think, oh my goodness, this could be something that tragic, which is very unfortunate. I'm sure the people that knew him, that the person reached out to, God, the amount of possible regret or suffering that they might feel. But then also you're talking about a supernatural aspect to it. So was this person talking about ghosts? Because then, like, you know what I mean? If my friend was, if you were Trevor, you're like, oh my God, ghosts in my house, like, I'll be there for you, but I'm not going to sit, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it's going to get you. Everything's going to go south immediately.
Yeah. You would be there for me, but like not crossing the threshold to my house, but you would be there for me in some sense.
I'd be on the sidewalk there for you.
Yeah, you'd be literally out there for me here.
I got holy water, different crosses from different religions. Like, you name it, you got it. Salt, all that stuff. A priest hanging out with me. I'm there. Again, I'll just start sending stuff in.
It's Benny from The Mummy. I mean, that's Alfredo in a nutshell. But yeah, this case is really, really fascinating, but a huge caveat up front. There's not a lot of documentation around this case. A lot of it is hearsay. It's one of those cases that is super, super fascinating. And we dove in, tried to find all the details, but we want to be very realistic because it is really gripping. The idea that somebody, was this a paranormal attack? Was this some sort of curse? Was this a medical tragedy? Was this somebody dying from fear alone? Those are the angles we're going to be looking at here, because this case otherwise is missing answers as far as the internet is concerned, as far as mystery enthusiasts are concerned. But as far as the medical world, as far as police are concerned, they have an answer. And so we're going to talk about all of that. Yeah.
I didn't even think about a curse too. Like, that could always come into play. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of drag me to hell vibes in this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That kind of played at the back of my mind.
Interesting. But info-wise, it's a game of telephone.
Info-wise, it's a game of telephone. It's from the early 90s, which really shouldn't be all that bad. Okay. But we do see that when there's lacking documentation at the time, or if people don't take it seriously at the time, it becomes, a game of rumors, a game of guesswork, and a lot of theories. So this one's going to be really fascinating, but I also want to approach it very practically and really try to think outside of the theories as to what might have happened here. And as we dive in, as always, I want to give a huge shout out to our task force members, Splode King, who's a buff scientist, a buff mind. Thank you so much. And of course, our squonks of the month, we have Azrael, Mitch W, Sabrina Hall, and TGYK94, just to name a few. Thank you guys so much. And if you want to support us directly and become a member of the task force, you can go to redwebpod.com. That's where you can join as a member, get yourself a badge. And right now, all four of us played a horror game recently. I believe it's called Repo that we're going to play. And it comes out this Wednesday. So come check it out exclusively on Patreon. You can also support us by getting some merch from Head to Tippy Toe. Store.redwebpod.com. Fredo, I'll get you that sippy mug of knowledge.
Drip me out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'll drip you out head to toe. Make sure you're sipping on that knowledge. And speaking of knowledge, it's time to dive into the case. So this one begins on April 18th, 1991. A man named Christopher Case, who I do have an image for you, take a look right here, was found deceased in his apartment home bathtub.
Oh, looks like a happy man.
He's a happy little man right there.
He's just chilling. He got glasses, beard, black hair. Yeah. He's just like a big smile on his face.
big smile on his face, very 90s. This almost feels like a retro, like McDonald's commercial or some sort of aerobics infomercial kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Jazzercise.
it's got a red shirt, sleeves cut off. So I see the aerobics aspect to it.
Yeah. He was a former radio broadcaster from Raleigh, North Carolina, and Case actually moved to Seattle, Washington to pursue a career as a music executive. So reportedly, he ended up working at Music Holdings, which was a company that kind of specialized in background music as well as jingles. So everything seemed normal for this 35-year-old. I want to reiterate, he's 35 years young. He's really not that old. He's hitting his stride. I also say that because as a 34-year-old myself, I really want to make sure that I stay grounded. I'm healthy, right? I got time, right? But until this recent trip, this is where things kind of took a turn, after which his life was filled with fear over what he experienced concerning those close to him. And before Case was ultimately then found clothed in his bathtub in his Seattle apartment and pronounced dead at the scene. Now, adding some detail to this, some reports actually add that Case was found in a kneeling position in the bathtub with his head against the wall. Overall, there was a woeful lack of clear evidence across the sources that we looked at, so elements like this, as compelling as they are for future theories, we'll dive into those, should be taken with a grain of salt. Again, it's hard to get the exact picture of the scene when you don't have all that documented at the time or widely reported on. That word of mouth can sometimes twist these things in retrospect. So police were originally on the scene because they were checking on him in his home after an undisclosed friend of Case ordered a wellness check after not hearing from him for a few days. Now, we looked into this, and this person was seemingly reported as undisclosed. I don't know if they wanted to maintain anonymity, but the police never told Seattle Times what their name was, so undisclosed it is. Now, this friend told the police that in the last week, Case had become fearful, saying that a witch had put a curse on him during his time in San Francisco.
All right. Okay, hold on. Being born and raised in San Francisco.
Tell me about the witches. Come on, here it is.
I ain't seen them. I ain't seen them. And I run around, sometimes I was out at night doing all kinds of dumb teenage stuff. I ain't seen no witches. I very easily could have came across pissing someone off and get a curse, but that ain't happened.
Wait, you never went down to the Iron Cauldron? You never took a sip of the witch's brew?
No. Possibly tempted if I was younger, but no one was on the corner just with a brewing pot trying to tempt people to take a sip.
Yeah, this is what I was going to be curious about because, we've talked about a lot of New England territory, witchcraft. We talked about the Salem trials before, and maybe, I don't know, I wanted to talk to you as a San Francisco native. Is this the West Coast Salem, or is this I'm very curious because this wouldn't be a city that would stand out to me as a witchy, cursey type of city.
No, not at all. No. Yeah, and no one there sees it that way either. It's not something that oh man, it's it's a Bay Area thing. It's a San Francisco native thing. Nope. And I live in different hoods of San Francisco, and ain't no one talking about witches or curses or anything like that whatsoever.
Fair enough. They do have a haunted ship. You and I have been on it. The USS Hornet. Watch your head everywhere you go, but that ship was gnarly.
Yeah.
We did a whole ghost investigation on that if you guys want to check it out. But okay, so we're at San Francisco. He's on a work trip, and this is where he comes back. He's talking to his undisclosed friend in fits of fear that, hey, I've been cursed. Okay, so that's the scene. Now, per this original Seattle Times article, it was speculated that sometime around April 11th, 1991, Case took a work trip to San Francisco. Again, this is really hard to dive into the details and figure this out for sure, but this is word in the news reports. While in San Francisco, it's reported that he had bonded with a woman that he met, someone that shared the love of music, in fact, particularly ancient music, as the story goes. Now, as these reports continue, the woman had actually made romantic advances toward Case, which he subsequently denied. He declined her advances on him, and after this, the woman supposedly became quite irate with him, stating that she was a witch and that she was going to put a curse on him for turning away her advances, claiming that he would be dead within the week. And reminder, this was 7 days before he was found dead in his apartment.
See, if I had a friend that came to me and was like, dude, this woman, she was making advances towards me, I was like, nah, I'm good. And then she was like, I curse you. I'm like, bro, how drunk were you? How drunk were you? You know what I'm saying? Not to say that you weren't vibing with a chick or anything like that, but like how far are we stretching this story? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the thing is, as great of a story as it is, it's coming through an undisclosed friend and then being reported on, and then time only adds to the more interesting elements of these stories we've found in our experience. Like, things get heightened and exaggerated. So I want to keep it as factual as possible as we proceed, but It's very interesting. And we'll talk more about his existing disposition on religious views or even the occult, of which there are few. So I have my own kind of instincts coming along here, but I'll lay out more and see what you have to say. So this incident seemed to deeply shake Case. He grew incredibly fearful in the days following the events. He's calling his friends really in a fit of fear about what he's experiencing. Like, it's truly shaking him, whatever it was that he did experience. So maybe it was something else. Maybe it was somebody claiming to be a witch and putting a curse on him. Either way, something happened, right? That's the truth. Something stuck with Case all the way back home. And then, I don't know if it's coincidence, irony, or just like sad fate, but then he is dead a week later. Now, there was another friend of Case's who was a woman named Sammy Souder, or Sude. I'm not sure exactly on the pronunciation, but she also reported that Case called her concerned about this curse. So now we actually have two close friends of Case verifying this story, but my mind starts to go two ways, right? Especially since we do have a name here. Before, one was not anonymous, but undisclosed. Now we have a person whose identity is behind the story. Now, my mind goes two ways. One, they both independently support this story, adding a lot of validity to whatever it was that Case experienced. That Case felt threatened, that he was rattled after this trip. C'est la vie, right? And then he met his end. The other angle is me being a little bit more cynical, but again, we've done 230 of these episodes, and it's hard for me to not feel this way. Like, the other angle is that, is this made up, right? That's the question. This could be made up, which would imply that these two are corroborating to weave this tale. But why would they do that? The question would be out for discussion, but the main thing for me would be to cover up some sort of involvement. That something happened between these friends that led to his demise, and in order to cover things up, let's elevate this to a different story and externalize the blame, just point it outward.
That is a wild idea. In terms of like, from the friend's perspective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It like, I couldn't imagine one taking the life of somebody, but like taking the life of a friend, and then from there being like, well, my game plan is to make up this wild story. And that's the option I'm going with. There's just, I just feel like it would cross my mind. Sure, maybe, but not what I would go for, and not B plan A or the plan.
Right. Probably not A through F of the plans.
Yeah.
We'll see, though, because of the scene that was found in his apartment is one thing. And the other thing, too, is it doesn't have to necessarily mean that they killed him. It could be that, you know, maybe you're out partying, something happens or another, something goes south, someone's health goes south, and you're just like part of it. You didn't do it. Maybe you helped facilitate it, whatever. An accident happens and you go, I don't want any part of this. I got to distance myself because I don't want it to look like I had something to do with it, right? Again, I'm starting to weave a tale over here. I just like that part of me I can't ignore. But the other half, I'm like, okay, no, something substantial is happening here. Two people are supporting this.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a plan of like, oops, we were there when something unfortunate happened, and let's come up with a story. But then again, I also feel like unless you were really a part of it, like if we're on a ghost hunt and Christian slips and falls and bangs the head, and then, you know what I mean? It's like,
there was a witch.
Sit here and be like, Trevor, we got to come up with a plan. I'd be like, all right, so when the police come, we say he tripped off of that thing right there.
Right, we don't move, and we got cameras.
Right, and then he fell down a flight of stairs onto some bullets.
Or that happened, you know?
Or it didn't happen.
Or just like, you know, just hear me out. Plan B, this is off the air. Wink, wink.
Wink.
a ghost tripped him with its fishing line, you know? I saw the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just so happened to flee the scene and stay a few nights at a hotel before leaving town.
Right.
Chris was just silently listening to this whole thing. Christian's just like, I'm taking these notes.
Notes. Here we go.
Remember this.
If I go missing.
Listen, if any of us goes missing, my feet aren't moving. I'm staying planted. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell him everything. Hands are in the air the whole time. I swear to God, this is everything I know.
What do you need to know? Most likely, I was live somewhere.
Yeah, right. Most likely, something on me was recording in some way.
Yeah.
So coming now back to this woman named Sammy. So she herself was a psychic, and in response to Case's fear about the curse, she actually told him to seek help. We don't know what type of help, whether it was psychological help, medical help, or police or anything like that, but this is all in her police report. She later told police that Case was also healthy, physically, of sound mind, and did not believe in witchcraft prior to this event, which that to me kind of really stands out.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't believe in witchcraft, he certainly came home very, very afraid of it. Again, unless this story is kind of made up in some way, but I'll leave that for now. So coming back now to the discovery and the investigation phase of this case, of which it is quite brief, because at the scene of the crime, they kind of figured, well, this seems like an open-closed case. Eventually, we have an autopsy and a coroner, so let's talk all about it. In addition to, at the scene of the crime, this is very strange, in addition to 10 used candles and several crucifixes, they found lines of salts that had been poured along the floor, lining the edges of the walls of his apartment. Now, as we've lightly joked about before, but more seriously talked about during ghost hunts, salt is believed to have cleansing properties and possesses the ability to ward off evil spirits from various points of view in the world. And what stands out to me again is this very interesting scene for a person who supposedly doesn't believe in witchcraft and doesn't really add any value to this. Like, what happened in San Francisco really changed things. If he's coming back, lining salt down, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to believe that they believe this, right?
Right.
That's a drastic change. Something definitely shook this person to their core. I mean, to start salting everything, like something went sideways somewhere. That doesn't necessarily have to be an event. It could be that of the mind. The mind can snap. But like, you never know with anybody, right? Outside looking in. But, you know, they're taking care of themselves. They probably feel good. As someone that has worked out, it's like a good way to relieve stress, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking like, man, like what happened? Like what really happened there to, like, for someone not to believe this, to go so heavy handed in that direction. And of course, you talk about this all the time. There's no like absolute rules or absolute rule book on like how to ward off a curse or evil spirits. And so you kind of just go off of what you think you know. And that's why they started salting and crucifixes and all that kind of stuff. Man, if salt is the way to pure and keep like ghosts and ghouls away, then I'm Gucci, because I eat salt and french fries like a mofo. Like I'm dripping in salt. Or all I gotta do is just start rolling around the ground, start sweating salt out on my pores, you know?
Maybe that's why you're untouched and holy, you know?
It could be.
I feel like us Americans are pickled with salt. We should be okay.
Got a lot of salt. Like, good luck.
It's our primary seasoning. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, I'm safe from vampires because I'm basically 50% garlic myself. That's my seasoning of choice.
Garlic
good
bread.
Stuff. Yeah. Oh, now you got me thinking about it. But here's the thing. Like, you're totally right. And a lot of this relies on the police report from a close friend, right? And I want to believe them. And there's no reason why I wouldn't, other than, you know, being cynical and trying to approach this case from other angles. But yeah, something happened, whether it was of his body or of his mind. Definitely something shifted. And on top of that, we were really curious, Christian and I, kind of looking at the research here, talking with our researcher, Kat, and whether or not this setup, right, that was found in his apartment, these crucifixes, these candles, this salt, whether it had anything to do with his friend's psychic abilities or not, is kind of up for debate. We couldn't figure out one way or another if this was her stepping in to say, well, maybe this is a way I know how to help. And again, this is where I have to keep a part of that cynical brain going, like, what if she was there to try to help? And then he winds up dead. And then she goes, oh, I would believe that maybe she didn't kill him, but it doesn't look good. And so now we got to go, ooh, something else. Curse in another city. I don't know.
The thing is, though, like, you could tell someone certain things and all that kind of stuff, but like they really have to have solid evidence in the court of law.
Yeah.
Majority of the time, right? To be able to pin something like murder on you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, do you have very revealing text message conversations with the person? Were you there? Is this like a Final Destination where like they got a knife stuck in the chest, like the teacher did in the kitchen on fire, and then you went in to pull it out and you're like, oh no, my hand's all over.
Right.
Unless something like that, like how are they really going to pin it on you? And plus also, like, what does the autopsy say? Not that you'd be privy to that information, but
you're getting just one sentence ahead of me right now, because that's where we're at. And again, he could see Task Force. He could see the future 5 seconds at a time.
5 seconds at a time.
It's like that's useless. So Fredo, but it's just like glimpses. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by Rocket Money. When it comes to spending, sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. You forget about it and you're spending for it. And that daily coffee habit, those streaming subscriptions, they all play into that. They add up fast without you even noticing it. Rocket Money helps you spot those patterns so you can do something about it and keep all that nice green cash in your pocket. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. See all of your subscriptions in one place and know exactly where your money is going. For ones you don't want anymore, Rocket Money can help you cancel them. I use Rocket Money and it was a breeze to set up. I can put my bank account and all my credit cards in one place, and it categorizes all of my spending. So it does just that. It makes it very transparent to see how much I'm earning each month and how much I'm spending each month. And if one month looks like I'm spending too much, I can click on it and easily see where that spending is going and what category it's in. Does it make sense? Am I being blindsided by something I didn't realize I was buying? All of that stuff. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Download the Rocket Money app and enter our show name, Red Web, in the survey so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Download the Rocket Money app today and tell them we sent you. Let them know Red Web is out here bringing the task force members to financial and fiscal responsibility, and save some money today. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by Shopify. When you're young, you dream of being anything. I wanted to be a hydrant, but that didn't make sense for me. But as you get older, your dreams change. Perhaps they get more realistic, focusing less on running the world and more on how you can take your skills and ideas and turn them into something real. Instead of dreaming of going to space or owning your own castle or becoming a fire hydrant, maybe you start dreaming of owning your own business. You'll need a website, a payment system, a logo, and a way to advertise to new customers. It can all be overwhelming and confusing, but thankfully, that is where today's sponsor, Shopify, comes in. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the United States. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. What if you can't design your own website? Well, Shopify's got you covered from the get-go with beautiful, ready-to-go templates to match your brand's style. What if you need a hand? Get help with everyday tasks with Shopify's AI tools created for commerce. What if people haven't heard about your brand? Shopify helps you find your customers with easy-to-run email and social media campaigns. And what if you get stuck? Shopify's always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. I've used Shopify many times in the past, and setting up products and the way the website looks, promo codes, all of that good stuff is so easy. It is hands down one of the easiest experiences to get you started in e-commerce. Turn those dreams into and give them the best shot at success with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/redweb. Go to shopify.com/redweb. One more time, that's shopify.com/redweb. But yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I will say lots of people have gone away even in the 90s, even though it wasn't that long ago. Like a lot of people have gone away for the wrong reasons because it was like they were the only person that made sense. And so they go, yeah, we might not be able to really nail you, but otherwise, this. But regardless, you're right. Let's talk about the coroner. Let's talk about the situation here. So ultimately, the medical investigator at the scene reported that there was no sign of violence, robbery, or foul play. To me, foul play doesn't necessarily have to mean that the apartment's roughed up, but that's what they're concluding at the scene. And then later on, the coroner concluded during an autopsy that Case had died of acute myocarditis and then heart failure. So kind of looking into this more deeply, we're not a medical podcast by any means, but I really wanted to dig into this because this is the most solid answer we have, and it might open up some cracks into some ideas, right? So per the Mayo Clinic, myocarditis is a scenario in which the heart muscle becomes inflamed. Now, this has a slew of causes. Often it's caused by infection, whether it be bacteria, parasitical, fungi, viruses, what have you. There are autoimmune disorders that can lead to this. This condition can lead to arrhythmia, a rapid heartbeat, an irregular heartbeat. All of these things affect the heart's ability to pump blood, and it can be fatal. There are, however, some other causes. This won't be exhaustive, but it will cover the principal other ones, right? Okay. So there are medications like cancer drugs, antibiotics, and some anti-seizure medications that can lead to myocarditis. There's also the fact that the recreational drug cocaine can lead to myocarditis. And it can also be caused by carbon monoxide poisoning, radiation poisoning. Again, not exhaustive, but covering a lot of things, maybe opening up some baby theories out there.
Right. I mean, so a lot of things can cause this.
Yeah. So basically the heart muscle just becomes inflamed, right? That's the itis part.
Okay, so I can see how something like this could happen to them. And then from there, they think that there's something supernatural happening. Because it doesn't seem like, even then, like the little details like the heart racing or palpitations, arrhythmias, stuff like that, doesn't seem like it's constant, something that comes up every once in a while. So he could have a situation or starts happening and he's thinking it's some kind of curse attack or something like that. I guess kind of the question is, what made me think it was a curse more than anything, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to just a health condition.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but who's to say the timing didn't just cross paths where he was talking to someone and then they felt rejected and they just threw something silly out, like, I curse you. And then, again, perfect timing. These health issues started happening and he was like, oh my God, it is a curse. Right. I am cursed. I don't believe in this, but like, it's lining up.
Absolutely.
Coincidences happen all the time.
Right.
It could literally just be that.
It could just be that. And it could be that 1,000 of these cases have happened before, but because there wasn't such unique coincidences, it didn't stand out, right? The fact that he's got the crucifixes, candles, the salt, he's dead within the week, he's talking about a curse, he seemingly was healthy as far as we're aware. This is an internal issue that can happen to seemingly healthy people. Yeah, maybe it was just truly, and that's kind of one of the theories I wanted to pose, was like, maybe this really just was bad coincidence, bad timing. The reason I also wanted to outline some of the major causes of myocarditis is that this is the coroner's conclusion on the case, and to me, this is the foundation for the theories to build upon. I think it's the most answers we have, and it would be wise to start there. Though we'll also explore some of the other ideas too that I hinted at the top of the show. The concepts of a curse, I think, are always going to be interesting, so we'll talk about that angle. The age-old tale of being scared to death is also quite fascinating. We'll talk about that a little bit. But then, of course, what you're talking about, the natural instinct of being like, hey, maybe this is just really bad timing.
Right.
I don't know. Lots to explore. So with that, let's dive in. Talking first about a curse. So some theorize that Case truly did succumb to a curse put on him by some mysterious woman in San Francisco. Not being a believer in the occult prior to this incident made people close to Case kind of remark on how strange his sudden shift in demeanor and behavior kind of was, And some then reported that after returning home from this business trip, Case began to suffer from unsettling dreams and experiences in the middle of the night. He reportedly told Souter that he heard voices in the middle of the night. He felt hands that would pin him down to the sheets. He would feel scratches and being beaten while being held down to the bed. And my natural inclination, Fredo and Christian, you both have had sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
I
mean, that lines up with sleep paralysis. I mean, in the extremes of sleep paralysis.
Right.
But I've woken up seeing things, feeling pressure on my chest, and so, man, it could just be a combination of terrible things.
It really could. I mean, fear can certainly lead to that placebo effect,
Right.
whatever that takes form in. And whatever it was, again, something really happened. I will stand by the fact that something truly happened to Case. That I think will be the mystery behind this case forevermore.
Mm-hmm.
Was it something occult? Was it something paranormal? Was it something more mundane? We'll never know.
Right.
But the fact is something happened and it caused this shift. And yeah, we did a whole episode, in fact, about sleep paralysis and it often in history taking the form of demons.
Right.
What is it? The shadow man in the hat.
Right.
The
yes.
hat man is one. There's also the demon that kind of sits on your chest because feeling pressure on your chest is often. Did you experience that one?
No, I felt the pressure. I mean, I have. I mean, my extreme case was my brother waking me up and me seeing him as this shadow demon.
Why can't they be happy experiences? I know it's a spooky feeling, but like, what if you saw your brother as an angel? You know what I mean?
That'd be cool. I'd be like, what's good?
That would have been better.
Would have been better.
Why is it always got to be a shadow entity that scares you half to death?
I know. It has to be so negative.
So on top of what he's experiencing at night and sharing with his friend, he even went so far as to visit religious and occult bookstores across Seattle. These were firsthand encounters, people witnessing him in these locations. And clearly he's trying to learn more about whatever situation he finds himself in. He's trying to stock up on crucifixes at these stores, trying to collect Bibles and protect himself in whatever way he knows how.
With all due respect.
Okay, hit him with it.
I do feel like, he's doing his due diligence. He's going to different stores. He's asking different people. But I just feel like so many people, if this was something that was truly happening to him, he needed the right answers. And I feel like so many people were not qualified,
I mean, I would certainly be out of my depth.
Yeah.
I'd be like, listen, man, a lot of this is fascinating. I could pull out 5 different angles to approach this from. But do any of us really know what's going on beyond this great space-time fabric?
Right.
We got some good guesses.
There could be a handful of people that actually do know, that actually have, you know what I mean? But what are the chances of finding that said person? Because I don't feel like if this was a curse or this was a supernatural thing, there'd be that many people that are actually equipped to deal with it.
I would feel similarly. If I was truly in this situation, again, this feels very much like a movie. It's a gripping story. It follows the traditional pattern of most paranormal possession stories, occult stories, things of that nature, where you feel completely isolated. And I'm always desperately saying, and I think it kind of applies here too, talk to people where you can. I know the trope is that the world is then set out to make you feel crazy, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And so you further become more isolated. But I'm like, you're going to these hot spots, you're going to religious bookstores, occult bookstores, maybe going to church or what have you, right? You're looking for answers. I'm hoping you're talking to people too, because that's the best way to stumble into somebody who might be able to provide some solace that could maybe quell some of those fears.
But also, like you said, it seems like it's so close to a movie. Is it that close to a movie because, it's made up and they're just going off of a movie that they've seen?
You gotta ask it.
You gotta go back and forth on it. You gotta ask.
You gotta ask the question. I mean, man, I don't know. I'm taking... So, before we continue on with this theory, it is worth taking inventory of the facts that we know, right? Coming from the coroner, coming from the police reports. Whether he's on his knees or not in the bathtub, again, that is reported. That is kind of through various different sources, but not all. So we know he's found dead in his apartment in the bathtub. In his apartment, there are 10 used candles. We don't know if they were in some sort of shape or symbol or how far burned down they were. I'll tell you, I've got like 20 burned candles in my house because I like a good smell. I like a good ambiance. So I don't know the details, right? We do know, oddly enough, that salt is around the walls. That is interesting. Could it be, what's it called? Diatomaceous earth? That's not how you say it, but it's like that earth that prevents bugs. It's like
that prevents anything from growing there, or like
it stops bugs from coming in, basically. It's an organic material that's made out of like abrasive particles that kind of destroy the exoskeleton of like roaches or whatever. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm sure like a police officer got down there and like tested it out and didn't just look at like some white dust along the walls and said like salt must have been weird. All I'm trying to say is, okay, I'm getting off track. The facts of the matter, he's found deceased in the bathtub. There's salt around the house. There's some candles. There's a lot of crucifixes. And he was found in an autopsy later on to have myocarditis. And his friends are saying that he was afraid of something, a curse, though he wasn't very believing of that ilk. And those are the facts. That's what it all comes down to. And so, story or not, weaving the tale between all of those things or not, it is a really compelling setup for a mystery.
It really is. And again, it feels like it's a movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, movies are based on stories and things that are sometimes based on in truths. But then they also inspire as well creativity. And so like it's just a parallel that it could go either way.
Right.
I mean, I like this person truly, I do believe that this person truly thought that there was something happening that was supernatural and they were trying their best. But maybe it was some kind of health condition or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's talk numbers. Traditional in-person therapy can cost anywhere from $100 to $250 per session, which adds up fast. But with BetterHelp Online Therapy, you can save an average of up to 50% per session. With BetterHelp, you pay a flat fee for weekly sessions, saving you big on cost and on time. Therapy should feel accessible, not like a luxury. With online therapy, you get the quality care at a price that makes sense and can help you with anything from anxiety to everyday stress. Your mental health is worth it, and now it's within reach. There's a lot of stigma that surrounds therapy, and it can be very difficult to talk about and figure out how to approach, to find the right person, what's it going to cost, all of these things. And that's why I really appreciate BetterHelp as a service. It allows you to approach therapy and get you started in an arena that's otherwise hard to talk about or maybe find your footing. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient as well. You can join a session with a click of a button, helping you fit your therapy into your busy life, plus switch therapists at any time. Your well-being is worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/redweb to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/redweb. Now back to this theory, you know, some of the news outlets we talked about reported on April 17th. That was the night before his death, that Casey called Souter yet again in a panic, and this time saying that he didn't think he was going to survive the night. In the same Seattle Times article I talked about before, he was actually quoted at some time in the timeline. I don't know if it was during this call. Again, things are a little washy, wibbly wobbly. Right. But he said at some point, quote, "People are trying to do things to me," end quote. So now, is this a curse, or is this some sort of scenario where some ne'er-do-well, some sinister entity, some individual somewhere is trying to do some harm?
Could be.
Right. Vague, scary.
It's so vague. It's also like, man, you hate to like, because I'm sure he's been saying for a handful of days and some time now that these things are happening, and then, you know, nothing kind of comes up, or you're kind of waiting as a friend or family to see what turns up, and then all of a sudden, like, it all goes south, you know? Yeah.
Ultimately, the biggest wrinkle for this particular theory is that despite the many different paranormal topics we've talked about, there's that sliver that remains unexplained. I think that's always such an intriguing lane to be in. But the people that believe this theory are the ones that kind of say, listen, all right, so you're saying it was myocarditis. The symptoms for that leading up to his death from this, it's usually accompanied by flu-like symptoms or things like that. Other symptoms manifest in a way that his friends should have noticed. And
right.
Reportedly, he didn't have any of these symptoms. And so it is that lack of obvious symptoms that make the proponents of the curse theory go, I feel like you just didn't know how to answer it, and so you didn't want to say curse because you're the police, so you went with this. But right. I don't know. This is a doctor, a coroner, opening him up and seeing that, yes, his heart muscle is inflamed. Like, but I don't know. Are they just saying that? Again, that's where that theory kind of keeps going. And at some point, you got to have trust in something.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, right. And you want it to be in the medical professionals. You want it to be in the authorities.
Yeah.
You got to at some point have blind trust.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be wishy-washy. I know there's times where we feel like we're more open to the mysterious, like, conspiracy, or sometimes we just shut that down. It's really case by case, whatever the gut is feeling. Like, this one's just so thin. I would want there to be more if I was really to be drawn in by the idea of, like, the curse, like something else happening. But anyway, the other major theory that is speculated about Case is that he truly did suffer myocarditis. Maybe that was how he died. And that was brought on, maybe not by the curse directly, but rather by an intense fear or paranoia that his trip to San Francisco caused. Again, whatever that was. And we're not doctors. We really tried to look into it. And there's not a whole lot of documentation that points to fear, paranoia leading to myocarditis. And there's also not a lot of documentation of myocarditis affecting the psyche and having symptoms of that way. So was it myocarditis that created the paranoia? It is vaguely possible. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, not professionals in that field.
Yeah. Is it a scenario where fear and paranoia in reverse created myocarditis? Probably not. There's like no documentation for that.
Yeah.
So interesting theory, right? Because we've talked about and we've heard a lot of cases about people being scared to death. We've heard stories, sometimes exaggerated, where people's hair goes white overnight because of just an absolute deep, gripping fear of something. But with all that said, all of my, my ignorant medical knowledge on display, I do want to go to somebody more appropriate, right? So according to the American Heart Association, intense fear or a feeling of danger, right, causes adrenaline to course through the body, sending the body into that fight or flight mode. You've got cortisol ripping through your body. That stress can do a lot to you. Yep. Stress long-term especially. Now, this makes people with pre-existing heart conditions more susceptible to, quote, cardiac events. It could be, right?
Yeah.
This is where we're getting at, right? It could be a situation where this, whether it be a short-term, heavy, prolonged amount of adrenaline for this week, led to an existing heart condition that he might have had that he didn't know of and could have exacerbated things, possibly. But again, Christopher was reportedly quite active and healthy before his incident. It's possible that he had a undiagnosed underlying condition, of course. Just because you're a runner or you're active or what have you doesn't unfortunately make you immune to some of life's nasty turns. But
no, not at all. It definitely helps in the prevention. It keeps your body healthy and flowing, but right. And the crazy thing is a lot of your conditions just could be genetic, pre-existing.
Absolutely.
It just runs in the family.
Yep. So again, going back and forth, I can see how this is on the table. I can see how it's a theory. But my mind kind of goes another two different directions. I think ultimately this being a matter of unfortunate timing, where yes, he was afraid something might have happened, but he had an underlying heart condition, fear or not. I think the myocarditis was something that was just in the picture and it just didn't look great. Right.
Yeah, I could totally see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very few of us do our due diligence, especially. I mean, this is someone that's in their mid 30s to 35.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of us aren't doing our yearly health checkups or really big, let me just get a full body health status scan, whatever it is. We're not really doing that until we're in our 40s type of thing. We're just, 35. We're we're a little bit older, but we're in our prime, our careers, or we kind of feel like we know who we are, what we're doing. And yeah, sure, my back's getting a little stiff and my knee kind of buckles when I get up in the morning. But I don't really think anyone's preemptively around that age going, let me get up, go to a doctor and pay for a full medical scan or something like that.
Right. And that's the key word, pay for, oh, well, it was nothing. So what did I do this for?
Right.
That's kind of where I am at. I've scheduled some doctor appointments for this year because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I need to make sure it's nothing.
Just got to take a look. I
ain't no Superman.
Getting at that age, just take a look under the hood, see what's going on.
Look under the hood. You do it for your car. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Like, we have 30 years just being like, there's no wear and tear. I'm going to live forever. Yeah. Now it's like, ooh, I maybe threw one too many pitches back in my day. Rotator cuff.
So, I mean, the other angle, and again, I don't put a lot of stock into it, but for the sake of like all the thoughts that come to mind, there's a sliver of a chance that the friends had something to do with it. You know, I can imagine there being the idea that this is like a wild story about a witch curse, and they're the only people that are really seeing that he's fearful, and he's going to them. Then you go to his house and there's like these candles and things, and I'm thinking, well, if he didn't believe in any of this, what's more likely, that something happened and it changed his mind? Possible, totally.
Right.
Or was this maybe made up? Was it maybe they had a party night? I don't want to assassinate his character or anything, but what if they were up late having a party? You know, cocaine was on the list for myocarditis. What if they? Oh, a little too much, too fast. Oh, now I'm panicking. Oh, we got to get out of here. Things are going south.
Right.
I don't know. I could just see pieces of that.
Honestly, yeah, that could have been. I mean, like, again, not to assassinate any characters, but like, everyone, there's a ton of people that party way too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if this person had a history or just has like heart conditions that they don't know of, or family has heart conditions they don't know of, it could be something that you just kind of got to take a look at. You know what I mean? Like, my family has a history of heart conditions. I should be getting that checked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did a full body scan when I was like 33, but it's like, should I do like just a specific one with a doctor? Sure. You know what I mean? But, you know, it could be something like that. And then like, oh no, I partied too hard with some kind of substance that like can mess with my heart rate and whatnot, and just didn't know that I should stay away from that in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. And based on pure literature, I mean, who knows? Listen, I know that people get rapid heartbeats on cocaine. I know that there's all sorts of like, some people get like brave and they get boisterous. Some people get like paranoid. You know, there's all sorts of symptoms one can read about with this thing. Again, I'm not going to put this on this man. I don't know what his lifestyle was, so I don't want to pretend to know these things, but it's like, it's out there. It's like, it's surrounding this, and it comes to mind. Like, and if something goes south and friends were close, I'm not saying it's sinister. I'm just saying like, hey, I don't want to be involved. We've seen people lie when they were close to a case, even though they didn't really seem like they were going to be it. Like Paula Jean Weldon, right? Her dad is one of the suspects simply because he's kind of curbing some of the truths because he doesn't want to be a suspect. But I'm like, but that just made you a suspect. So let's just be honest here.
Right.
I don't know. I could spiral, right? But
right. We could try and tell of the story 5-10 different ways and 10 different stories. You know what I mean? And so it all just, I mean, it could have been just like they're all partying and then they were like, oh my God, we got to come up with a story. Not because we deliberately killed this person, but we also don't want to be implicated with like drugs or something like that, you know?
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, again, and I think that this is a hotbed story for all sorts of theories, and I think that's what makes it so fascinating for a lot of theorists and mystery lovers out there. But ultimately, it comes down to this, right? The medical cause of death, as determined by the coroner, was myocarditis. His death is widely discussed and debated, especially given his strange behavior in the week leading up to it. Of course, that makes it seem very eerie. But I think what remains the mystery here is who exactly this woman was he saw in San Francisco, or what happened in San Francisco, right? Like, something was like a light switch happened while he was on this work trip. And that, I think, will forever be the mystery, because I do believe that it was his heart condition that ended his life early. And
I agree.
It's just a matter of then what caused that, what led that. And at that point, you're right. We could weave many, many tales based on the few facts we have. And that's where I don't want to be irresponsible, but you know, we're having a conversation about it.
Right.
We're exploring the different angles. But man, this is why I think that it will forever tickle the interest of the paranormal lovers, the mystery lovers out there. And many will continue to speculate if his death was truly a matter of just his heart or if there was some sort of paranormal curse involved.
Right.
But this has been the death of Christopher Case.
What an intriguing case with honestly just kind of like hearsay, which is wild.
Truly. Yeah.
And I will say too, like you guys better hope in Task Force at large that I don't know when the end of the light, you know what I mean, is the end of that tunnel is. Because if I do, you'll never know like whatever truly happened to me. I will have like years after my passing, there will be tapes, there will be safety boxes that will be revealed. Okay. Like there's going to be so many things that you guys are going to have to try and piece together. You know what I mean? Like 7 years after my passing, you just see a tape of me running butt naked through a cornfield and you're going to have to try and piece that together with the 10 different things that I left you.
He did say in episode 138 something about loving corn and loving to run. That must have this is some sort of sinister Kevin McAllister situation.
It's gonna be buck wild, man. You're never gonna know. There's gonna be five different things and 10, 50 different theories.
You're setting up a Rube Goldberg puzzle for after your death.
Oh yeah. There's gonna be tapes.
You're just building up a library every year where you're just adding to it just in case the end happens.
Just a little recording. You know what I mean? Just a little recording here and there.
On the scale of Kevin McAllister Home Alone to Jigsaw in Saw, I don't know where to put you. And I think to put you on that scale anywhere would terrify me, to be totally honest. But I got to be honest, I think you're on it. You're on that scale somewhere.
Yeah, I'm on the scale. No. I will still be here long after my passing.
I'll let the task force, that's a real ghost right there.
Yeah.
You're in the process of inventing the first real demonstrable ghost. You will have impacts long after your presence here.
Right. There's going to be something that goes live on social media like 10 years after I pass. And then Task Force at large is going to be like, come on, man. Like, just, you're gone. Like, leave us alone.
We were out of the woods.
Stop sending us.
It's going to start with an obnoxiously long countdown, too. It's going to be like,
countdown.
And it's going to be like 50. What, seconds, minutes, days?
Yeah.
Months. Oh, come on.
All right.
Well, Task Force, thank you all so much once again for hanging with us in another mystery. Would love to hear your thoughts over on the Discord. You can get to that by going to redwebpod.com. Of course, if you want to support the show, there's many ways to do that. We talked about it at the top of the show, but you can also review us wherever you listen to us. Give us that algorithm boost in this increasingly electronic algorithm world. The dead internet is upon us. But with that said, Fredo, I'll see you right back here next Monday for yet another mystery.